Amazing. So today is your birthday,
Yes,
and you're 95 years old.
yes.
I tell you, wow, you're more coherent than I am. That's not saying much. Hey, everybody, I want to introduce you to Carmine Pecorelli. And Carmine is a World War II veteran. Isn't that right, Carmine?
That is correct.
It's amazing, amazing man. And today is his birthday, just by chance. And how old are you?
95.
95 years old. And he was on a Minesweeper.
Yes.
He's coming by to say hi to me, but I want to ask him a few questions. You know, he's a hero and all. It'd be nice to talk to him. Can you stay for a minute?
Certainly.
How did you get into the Navy? That's where you started, right? The Navy?
Right.
And how did you, what year was it, and how did you get into the Navy?
I enlisted in the Navy in 1943. My father had assigned for the enlistment. World War II had started, and I didn't want to be drafted. I wanted to enlist. And it was what they call a short hitch. I had to stay in until I was 21 years old and 3 additional years in the reserves.
And how old were you when you actually signed up for the Navy?
I was 17.
17. That's where your dad had signed for you.
Yeah. My grandparents came from Italy. They were migrants. Couldn't speak English, but in Italian would say, Dio benedice America. God bless America. And she would tell me what the conditions were like in Italy, as opposed to how they were here in the United States. And that's Grandma. And Grandma couldn't read or write Italian. So she told me stories and told my brother and sister stories with such realism that we thought she was there. When she would describe the nativity, we thought she was an eyewitness.
So your grandparents were your inspiration.
Yes.
Because of their gratitude for this country.
Yes.
To sign up.
Yes.
For the Navy.
Yes.
In 1943 at 17
Yes.
years old.
Yes. But they couldn't take me in until officially 18. So on my 18th birthday, I reported to Sampson Basic Training Center for the Navy.
Tell me about
Yeah.
boot camp.
Well, boot camp, like anything else, is a new experience. You're yelled at, you're shouted at. There are times when you can take a shower and times when you can't. You have to make, when they call to fall in and they want to take the names, make sure everybody is there. You have to pop two, you have to obey, you have to take the orders. You don't ask questions.
What happens if you ask a question?
It depends on who you ask the question and what the question is. And when boot camp was over, all of us went home for a 6-day leave. We came back, and then I was assigned to a minesweeper that was in the Battle of the Atlantic. It was called the USS Dynamic.
You were a radar man on the Minesweeper.
Yes, sir.
Did you know anything about communication at all?
Not at all. Not at all. That's it. They teach you. You become what they call a striker. And so you sit down and they teach you. This is how you do. This is what you do. This is how you communicate. You learn. Radar. They didn't have radar in World War I. Every ship had an antenna. We would be 4 on, 6 off. So 4 hours I'd be at the radar scope checking what's going on. Or maybe I'd be on the helm of the ship getting orders from the deck officer about what course to follow. You would just become a seaman, getting to learn the ways of the Navy, and then you work your way up. And aboard every ship, we had a carpenter's mate, and he could make anything out of wood that was around. You could weld. We had electricians that did electrical work. In the old sailing days, they had sailmakers that repaired the sails on the ship. There isn't any delicatessen to go to or a hardware store to go to on the ship. You got to make do with what you have. And a lot of sailors became innovative.
Did you ever see something on the radar scope and you would tell your captain and that caused a general quarters?
No, I didn't, but I did get awakened one night because there was a pilot. He said, I'm lost at sea. He was over the Atlantic. And he said, I'm alone, I don't have a wingman, and I don't know where I am, and it's black. And the duty officer put me on the radar, and he talked to the pilot, and he said, one of our radarmen is going to tell us where you are, and he will tell me what to do, and I will command you. So he said, okay, Pecorelli, what do you want? I said, tell him to fly a 5-mile square, 5 miles in each direction. So he told him to fly, and I plotted him, and I said, tell him I've got him, I know where he is. He did that, he did what he was told. Now tell him to take this course, and then I gave him the magnetic course for Quonset Naval Air Station. And then as he was going along, I would tell see, I couldn't talk to him, the officer I would talk. I would tell the officer, tell him it's fine, he's doing fine flying. Encourage him, let him know what he's doing. Let him know that he's flying a great line. I said, and tell him we're going to get him to where there will be an X, 2 searchlights, 2 Army searchlights are going to cross each other, and in the middle of that cross is where Quonset Naval Air Station is. And I told him, the lights are on, and he said, the lights are on. And the pilot said, I see them, Mickey. Thank you for bringing me home.
You know, this was a happy show, you know.
It's a happy story, and I'm
No,
crying.
it's like, you know, we're all happy here.
Yeah.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Gosh, these stories, you know, you're going to get to me, get a little emotional here.
Yes.
So I see you were a sergeant.
Yes.
How long were you a sergeant?
I was a sergeant since 1954. I went up through the rank. There were different sergeants. He's just staff sergeant, sergeant first class, master sergeant, first sergeant, sergeant major. So I went up through the ranks, and what I have here is sergeant major. But on the MPs, when I was on an MP company, I was a staff sergeant.
So as a staff sergeant, which is a first sergeant, you're an MP?
Yes, I was an MP.
How long were you an MP?
Just during the summer camps that we were there, they needed an MP. They didn't have it, so I knew how to shine my boots and I keep my brass clean.
Yeah, law enforcement. That's law enforcement right there. Yeah. Law enforcement. I knew you had it in you. I might need a deputy one day. I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your theater of operation.
War in Europe, September the 1st, 1939, became the Battle of the Atlantic. So the German submarines were sinking American ships. So the oldest theater of operation is the American theater of operation. We were fighting a war, wasn't declared. Pearl Harbor didn't happen. We were fighting a war of our own defense. And that was back in 1939. It was called the Battle of the Atlantic. And it's quite historical.
What were your other duties on the Minesweeper?
I steered the ship, fixed the lines, was active when we would put the mine gear over the side. If there was going to be, got an idea that there was an enemy vessel in the area, they would have general quarters. And so we would all go to our station at general quarters. And I was on the 20-millimeter aircraft cannon. There were 4 of them on the Minesweeper.
And what do you do with the cannon? What did you do?
I was strapped to it, and I was strapped to it, and one fellow would raise it up and down, and another fellow would load it up with the 20-millimeter rounds.
And what did you do?
Me, I was just pulled the trigger.
And that's for the enemy airplanes?
That's for enemy airplanes, yeah, yeah. And also, if the sound man got a sound that there was a submarine, we'd be general quarters and we would drop depth charges over the side, on the port, the starboard side, the stern side.
Did you ever sink a submarine?
We don't know because once they get blown up before they don't come back up if they're harmed. The other thing is we became a guard ship for a French cruiser, and we brought them down to the tip of Florida. It was a French cruiser, and we escorted it through the Atlantic and through the Caribbean, and brought them down to Key West. They docked at Key West.
What actually is the job of a minesweeper?
A minesweeper is the enemy lays down spheres, and if a ship hits one of those spheres, it blows up and it sinks the ship. So the minesweeper goes out and cuts the cable to let the mines float to the surface, and then we'd be on the deck with the 3006 and to sink the mine.
So you blew them up?
We blew them up if possible, yeah, if we were lucky. Otherwise, they would sink. But we would cut them from the anchor that they were on. And that's what a minesweeper did. It protected the ships from the different mines that the Germans laid down. That we knew where charts showed where our Navy could go. There were safety channels because we swept the mines out of those areas, and it was clear they could make the run.
So all the guys behind you that are trying to get the land or whatever and disembark,
Right.
You made sure they could get there
That's
safely?
correct. That's correct.
Did you blow up any mines that you snipped and they had floated to the top?
Yes, once the chief gave me the rifle, and I fired at it, and it blew up, and I smiled.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Merchant Marines. What did they do?
The Merchant Marines carried material. As an example, they would have a convoy that would go from the United States to Russia, and they'd bring to Stalin the supplies that he needed. So they had applied through the ocean and through the submarines that the Germans had. They also brought supplies to England, to Scotland. Lend-lease, convoys could go only as fast as the slowest ship. So a German submarine could follow the ship and then sink it. And they did. They raised havoc.
Did you know anybody that was in the Merchant Marine?
I had a friend of mine by the name of Max Berry, and he was a captain of the Merchant Marine. He was a graduate of the Austrian Naval Academy, and that's how he got his rank. And he was torpedoed 3 times. He was bringing cargo up, war cargo, from Argentina to the United States. He did get a safety cross that he was torpedoed 3 times. And he saved his crew, and he brought them home. His name was Max Berry. There's also another experience. It was on June the 3rd, 1943, and the troop ship was going to Greenland, and it was torpedoed, and they started, to abandon ship, and there were 4 chaplains. One was a Catholic priest, one was a rabbi, one was a congregational, and one was a Methodist minister. And they were chaplains. And they were passing out life jackets. And then a trooper would come by and say, "Oh, there are no more life jackets. So the rabbi gave him his life jacket. Oh, there are no more life jackets. The Catholic priest gave his life jacket. Oh, there are no more life jackets. The Methodist minister gave his life jacket. There's still no more. And the congregation gave them. They gave their life jackets. And the survivors, one was in the boat, said the last they saw of the four chaplains, they were locked in arm, in a circle, in the water, singing hymns and praying for the survivors. That's the greatest story I have ever heard of, known of, and I said it over and over again because on the 27th of that month is when I enlisted in the Navy.
Wow.
But it's the four chaplains. They were awarded, they couldn't get the Medal of Honor because it was impossible. They got the Distinguished Service Cross, Purple Heart, but the president had in gold a special medal with the same equivalent of the Medal of Honor for the four chaplains. And there's a chapel for them in Philadelphia. It's at the Navy base that is no longer active, but there is a chapel for the four chaplains. When I was discharged, I took the advice of a Navy lieutenant who told me to take advantage of the GI Bill. And since I was a high school dropout, the Depression years, I went as far as the 8th grade. And so to take advantage of the education, to take advantage of getting a college education, I signed up at a private boarding school, Scarborough School, and started the 9th grade. And I was the oldest student. I was older than the teacher.
And how old were you when you started 9th grade?
I was 21.
21. And how long did it take you to graduate?
I went summer school and everything. I graduated from Scarborough School, got a high school diploma, was accepted at the Citadel in 1950 when the North Koreans crossed the 38th parallel. I was on active duty with the Army Reserves, and I thought, I won't be going to college. But I was able to take leave from my active reserve unit to attend the Citadel.
And the Citadel is a military school.
A military school. I was accepted. I never told them I was a veteran. And I went in 1950. I started as a plebe at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina.
A plebe?
A plebe, yeah. That's the lowest form of animal in the military.
A plebe. I haven't heard that term.
Plebe.
So you're going through there, and then what happened? Did you have any experiences when you went to the school?
Well, since I was so much older, and at first I didn't tell them, you had to take the plebe training. And the cadet company commander called me into his office. He said, "Are you a veteran?" I said, "Yes, I'm a veteran." He said, "Well, you don't have to take all of that harassment, from upperclassmen." I said, "It's been my dream to come to a military school, and I'm here. And those are my classmates out there. And I'm not going to let you deprive me of that privilege of being with my classmates." And he said, "Well, Mr. Pecorelli, I want you to know that all of us officers and all of the senior cadets are going to expect and demand a lot from you." I clicked my heels, threw my shoulders back, braced, and I said, "Sir, I've seen some lousy officers, so I'm going to be hard on you and all the upperclassmen."
And how did he respond to that?
The cadet captain told me to get back to the ranks. And then in my junior year, I was a sergeant, and Charleston had 3 orphanages: the Catholic orphanage, a city orphanage, and an orphanage for the African Americans. And I started a Christmas drive for all of the the orphanages, and we bought gifts. At the Catholic orphanage, I got the names of the children, brothers and sisters, and I asked the sisters, do they need clothes? She gave me a list of the sizes of the clothes they needed. At the African American orphanage, when I went there, they said we need sheets and pillowcases, and we need blankets. That was called the Jenkins Orphanage. And then the city orphanage, the owner said, we have everything that we need, but we could use a ping pong table. So I went back to school. I got on a microphone. I told the cadets, I'm taking up a collection to buy gifts for all these people, for all these organizations. And the gift was successful. And before we left on December the 8th, we brought and delivered the gifts to Jenkins Orphanage, the city orphanage, and the ping pong table to the well-known city orphanage. And that's how we were called Santas in gray. And that was my junior year, and I did it the senior year also. So I did it for 2 years. I got a degree. I majored in history. I took graduate courses at the University of Edinburgh, and that was in July of 1954, and then I came back, and in 1956, I got my first job with the New York Journal-American, a newspaper. I was on the street reporter. I would see an event on the street, and I would call it in, and a rewrite man would get it. One of the examples was I was on Times Square, and there was a theater called the Criterion. And as I was walking from the Hotel Astor and Jack Dempsey's restaurant, I noticed a crowd in front of it. And I went over and I said, what's up? And they said, a man came in with a shotgun and held us up. I said, fine. I said, this is going to make a great story. And the manager said, why? I said, well, the name of your movie is The 10 Commandments. And we all got a laugh at that. So the editor got a big kick out of it also.
Now, after the Journal-American, what did you do after that?
Journal-American went out of business. I applied to the Federal Emergency Management Agency that they needed reservists to be available when there would be another disaster. The cities and the states present reports of the damage that was done, how much it needs to be repaired, and the emergency management office of that state investigates it and sees that they get the money. So I did the record work. I showed them how to write out the applications.
So you did that for 12 years.
I did it for 12 years. It was a 6-month assignment, and I was there for 12 years.
What did you do after that?
While I was walking through the city of Camden, I saw trucks, and they had lights on, and it said Wreaths Across America. And I investigated and said, I want to find out about them. What do they do? And I learned that the wreaths are made in Maine. They're brought to Arlington during the Christmas holidays. The other thing was when I asked that question, he was a state trooper. I said, now I understand there's a group up in the Bangor airport that are troop greeters. And he said, yes. And I said, do you have the name of an individual that I can talk to? And he gave me the name of a member. And I went to Bangor Airport. I wanted to volunteer to be a troop greeter. So as the troops were coming in to the Bangor Airport, they had to refuel the plane, so the members on the plane, the troops on the plane, had about a 2-hour stay at the airport. And we saw to it that they got donuts, or they had a telephone they could call home. So I became a troop greeter. And one day while I was shaking hands, I looked up and it was my son coming down. He was on his way to Afghanistan because he was with the New Jersey National Guard.
And did you know he was going to be there?
No, I didn't know he was going to be there.
That must be something.
It was. They took pictures of it, you know. Daddy greets son. And the state is wonderful for veterans. Reach across Americas. We're expressing gratitude for those who served. Being a troop greeter, we're shaking hands as a gratitude for their service.
Wow. You're right. You're right.
You know.
Tell me about your uniform here. Okay, you are a sergeant. Well, first let's talk about this up here, the lightning bolt or what's that?
That was the 78th Infantry Division. That was the Reserve Infantry Division.
What year was that?
That was in 1953. And that was a reserve division. And then there's one on the left side.
Yeah,
That's Special Forces. They started a Special Forces unit, Company B, First Special Forces, Green Beret. And that's what this patch is.
So you're a Green Beret?
Yes, I'm a Green Beret.
How did you become a Green Beret? When did that happen?
That happened when the Army decided to have a reserve Green Beret unit. And that happened in 1955.
So in 1955 you began.
As a reservist, yes, a Green Beret reservist, yes.
Did you have to go through a lot of training?
No, they accepted all the training I had and everything that I did.
Now that's a Green Beret hat you have on?
Yes, it's a Green Beret, yes.
And what is that insignia? It looks like the same as on your uniform.
It's what they call a regimental crest. That's official to the unit. This was, each one was 6 months overseas, so I was overseas on the minesweeper for a year. These are the hash marks every 3 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 years?
8 times 3.
24.
Right.
24 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. Now, I like your medals. Can you tell me about your medals?
Yes, there's the Army Commendation Medal.
And which one's that one?
The green one.
Okay, and what else?
Okay, then there's the American Theater of Operation, the blue one.
And that blue one, and that's down here,
Yeah.
under the green? Okay.
Then there's a Naval Reservist, that's a red and blue one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Victory Medal.
What's the victory medal for?
We were victorious in World War II.
So it's a World War II medal.
World War II medal.
That's what I was trying to get him to say, you
Yeah.
know.
And also there's an American Theater, and that's the blue ribbon. See the blue ribbon?
Is the one right over here to the
Yeah,
right?
blue
Right over
ribbon.
here?
And then there's a maroon one, and that's my Good Conduct Medal. And American Defense and the America Preparedness. Those are the awards.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You jingle, man. Kids are going to think you're Santa Claus. Hey, here's Santa Claus. Here comes Carmine. Hey. So were you in Special Forces, Green Beret, during Vietnam?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Did you go to Vietnam?
No, I never went, but I trained at Fort Bragg. I trained others because I had my training from the Citadel. I knew the book, the Seven Pillars of Wisdom, which is the Bible of by T.E. Lawrence. Lawrence of Arabia wrote a book about unconventional warfare. He's the father of guerrilla warfare.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So you read the book, or all of the Green Berets at that time had to read this book?
We had to read that book.
That was your Bible?
That was our Bible, yes.
What a story.
Amen.
Now I want to talk about your business card. I just happen to have one right here on me.
Okay,
It's kind of interesting card. It says Pop Pop on the front of it.
right.
What does that mean, Pop Pop? How come you say Pop Pop?
My 11 grandchildren, from the first time the first was born, called me Pop Pop. So I accepted that as my nickname, Pop Pop.
So do you talk to children as well?
I talk to children about Wreaths Across America or Troop Greeter, and I introduce myself as Pop-Pop, not Mr. Pecorelli.
Now, on the back of your card, you got some stuff on here on the back. I don't understand. Explain the card, the back of the card.
Okay, on the back of the card, I have put, we are a brand of brothers and sisters. And these were honored in their generation, and they were the glory of their times. A lot of women aren't acknowledged for their service, and it's my mission to rectify that. They did serve. They were willing to die for me. And then on the bottom are the different military ordered. Is the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the last one is the Merchant Marine. So they each have their own citation, and they're entitled to it.
Yeah, they are. That's a great tribute to the women in the armed forces.
Yes, and they have contributed.
Are you glad you did it?
Yes, I am, and I'm proud.
Guy's a hero. Thank you for your service, buddy.
Thank you for your gratitude.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm so happy you came by. Carmine Pecorelli, 95 years old, World War II vet. He's a hero of the country. Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure. And we're going to get you a birthday cake.
Okay,
Yes, we are.
I'll wait right here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go get it now then. There's a general. Okay. And how did you get into the world of the magical couch anyway? That's another story. Never mind. I'm going to get you a birthday cake.
Okay.
All right. Don't go away.
I won't.
Color something.
I'll be right here.
Hey, we've got some silly putty right here. You want to play with some silly putty? There you go. There you go. There you go. Be back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.